Hello and welcome to TSPO Gaming. Today I wanted to try out a new game that I haven't played before called Nebulous Fleet Command. It looks like a really cool tactical slash, I guess, strategical space combat game. I don't really know a lot of what to expect. I've only watched a few movies, YouTube clips around this game. So I'm gonna try out the tutorial and kind of see from there how it goes. Let's start with the basic maneuvering and interface tutorial and kind of work our way through it. I'm really excited to see this, how it works out. So we have the friendly forces, ENS Small Beginnings, Frigate, and ENS Dusty Tome. So we get some information here around the weapon systems. MK62 cannons, I have no idea what that means. We get a radar, some launchers on this one, and on the Dusty Tome we get one cannon, but we get two launchers and we get a jammer. So the mission summary reads: Welcome to Bradford, Commander. I am Lieutenant Hazel, and I've been assigned as your instructor to get you up to speed with the command interface on your warship. Lieutenant Meadows was reassigned to train pilots and carrier commanders, so I'll be guiding you through to your standard trials. To start, we'll be getting you familiar with the controls and how to actually command a warship, and I'll be with you in the CIC. I'll meet you on board. Alright. So let's see what we get. I have no idea really. I've been watching a brief kind of Twitch stream. And the combat looks really fun, but I don't really know what to expect at all. I know that there is some form of element where you get to like create your fleet and also design your ships.
I'll be guiding you through the trials to determine if you're cleared for operations. The brass has their eyes on you, so try not to embarrass me.
Right, so we get the normal kind of camera views. Got some boxy little ships here. So I guess we can see... Yeah, okay, so you get to kind of... EVE Online, you get to kind of see what the modules the ships actually have. So we have cannons and cannons on the small beginning. And the radar. And over here can we see one cannon and we have... I guess that's the jammer. And launchers. Yeah, okay, so this is one launcher platform, and then I guess we have another one underneath here. Alright, so that's kind of interesting, because then that will mean that you will be able to see that.
Let's get you familiar with the view
in
controls first.
battles as well,
Hold
if you
down the left mouse
view
button
other
and drag
people's
the mouse
ships.
to angle your view.
Yeah, we already kind of did that. Pan
Now
and
use the
tilt.
scroll wheel to zoom in and out.
Boom. Sure.
And most importantly, moving the view. Use W, A, S, and D to pan the view. E and C will raise and lower your view in the battle space, respectively.
Alright, E and C.
And that's it. Let's move on to the actual interface.
Sounds
you can
good.
select a ship either by clicking on its icon in the battle space, selecting it in the ship list, or pressing its corresponding number key indicated in the ship list.
Okay, so you have the number key, the ship list, clicking them directly. Alright, so what kind of... I guess we'll get some more information on
You've
what
selected a ship.
information
now if you want
we
to
get.
focus your view on the ship, you can use the F key. You can
F
also
key.
do this by double tapping the ship's number key to both select and focus on the ship at the same time. When focused,
Alright.
your view will automatically track the selecting unit until you move the view.
Nice.
This ship in particular is the Rains-class frigate. It's the most common warship in the fleets, with a generous balance of speed, agility, armoring, and some good room for a good mix of support modules and weapon systems.
Alright,
You'll also
sounds
see at the
good.
bottom of the screen a readout of the selected ship. This is the ship information bar.
So I
and
guess
a
here-
list of the status of modules, weapons, current orders, and the general posture of the warship.
Okay, so you get like throttle, speed, maneuver posture. If you want to fly directly, I guess. Evade, direct, full flank. Alright. Radar, comms, electronic support, formation position, battle short. Override equipment safety to allow them to operate indefinitely. Will receive periodic damage when operating outside. Okay, so that's kind of boosting, I guess. Weapon control. Okay, so here you can kind of set tight or free, different fire modes, point defense, PDS, decoys, point defense zones. Okay, so that's where it will target its PDS systems, kind of. So we have signature, sensor coverage, speed normal. All right, so let's go on.
This window is the damage control status board, and it will be one of the most important items when in battle, as it shows the condition of all modules on the ship as a color gradient. Green means functional and undamaged, while red means heavy damage. A destroyed module or weapon is indicated in gray. Damage control is a whole can of worms, so we won't be covering that for now. Let's move on.
Alright, let's
Next,
move
the
on.
mount status display. This shows the status of all external mounts on the hull, which could be weapons, defense systems, or utilities. Currently, all of our mounts show green with a black slash, indicating they're operational but idle. If you're ever confused at what a color or a symbol means, you can hover over the color status icon with your mouse to see what's going on.
Yeah.
Lastly, we have the posture controls. These define how the ship will operate. From here, you can control maneuvers, which sensor systems are enabled, and toggle specific defensive systems. Right now, I've disabled most of these so we don't toggle something by mistake, but we'll go over these systems later. So you know how the interface works, but what about issuing an order to a ship? The ANS Small Beginnings is reporting that their drives are online, so we'll get that frigate into a nearby position.
Alright.
Select the ANS Small Beginnings and open the action menu by right-clicking anywhere in the battle space.
Okay.
On the left side of the menu, select the Move or Movement submenu to see all available movement commands.
Orbit, move
The
to
POS or
drive.
Position command will order the
Course
warship to
heading.
move to a position and hold there. Select position and move the Small Beginnings within 500 meters of Waypoint Atlas.
Underway.
This is the dial widget, and it will allow you to accurately select position on the plane the ship is currently on by moving the cursor. You can left-click to confirm an order, or right-click to cancel. To change
Where?
the elevation, hold left control and move your cursor up or down. You can also issue waypoints by holding left shift and marking a path. The order will only be confirmed when left shift is released and you click again. Don't forget, if you need to get a better view, you can still hold the left mouse button to angle your view even while the dial is open.
Okay.
When you're ready, lay in a course for the Small Beginnings to position itself near Waypoint Atlas.
Waiting orders. Waiting for your orders, Commander. Moving. We're ready whenever you are. Waiting for your orders,
Okay.
Commander. Receiving. We're ready whenever you are.
Okay.
In the future, you can also use the M key as a shortcut to issue Move to Position orders.
Okay. Yeah, that's a bit quicker. Nice.
Now let's talk formations. Because only one ship can be commanded at a time, formations are crucial for grouping your forces and keeping management simple.
Makes sense.
The ANS Dusty Tome is reporting they're ready for orders, so we'll have them fall in with the Small Beginnings. Select the Dusty Tome and open the action menu.
Waiting orders.
The Formation command can be found under the Move submenu and is issued with the FRM or Formation button. You can also use the keyboard shortcut left shift plus F key.
Ah, okay, and then you
We'll
can
first have
set
to designate a ship as the guide ship.
formation
This ship will be
position.
the actual leader for the formation, and all warships following the guide ship will try to copy their current orders. Select the ANS Small Beginnings to mark it as the guide.
Receiving.
Done.
Standing by.
Next, you'll need to designate a position for the Dusty Tome to take up in formation. The dial functions exactly like the movement command, but it's relative to the guide ship. Pick a position for the Dusty Tome to keep station on.
Yeah, we did that.
The Dusty Tome will move into formation, and they'll try to follow the guide ship as best they can. If the guide ship is moving when the ship is ordered to form up with it, the guide will automatically slow down to allow the other ship to catch up.
That's good to
You
know.
can have as many ships as you want in a formation, but keep in mind that there are drawbacks to having a lot of closely packed ships, beyond white-knuckled helmsmen. Spacing is key, and sometimes you need to split up. Ships near each other create a larger radar return, making stealth and evasion more difficult and allowing the enemy to detect you at a longer range.
Ah,
But we
okay.
won't go over sensor coverage just yet. You can
Interesting.
see the
I
structure of your
like
fleet and
this
its
kind of...
formations in the ship list, which dynamically updates to show which ships are in formation with each other.
We'll see how it kind of plays out when you're actually playing a game. Because it feels like it could both bring desired complexity, but also like information overload.
The action menu in formation mode. This can be done by using left shift plus right click with any ship in the formation selected.
Waiting for your orders, Commander.
The action menu will indicate it's in formation mode by displaying the number of ships the order will be delivered to.
2 ships.
For formation mode, don't worry about which ship you have selected, as the order will be delivered to all of them. Easier that way.
Alright.
Movement orders are a special case, as they will always be routed to the guide ship, and the whole formation will follow them. Now let's get the whole formation moving in a direction. The Drive Course command, found on the Move submenu as the CRS or Course button, will order a ship or formation to travel in a certain direction indefinitely. Select the Drive Course command now. Do not issue the order just yet. When it comes to picking directions,
so this
in
one you
space,
can put in a
use the
plane.
sphere widget. It's similar to the dial widget from before, but allows for choosing directions more uniformly. It can be a little tricky at first, so take your time and get a feel for it. Moving your mouse cursor around will position the target on the surface of the sphere. By holding left control, you will log the direction and be able to change the radius. This is useful for weapons, as you'll see in a later lesson, but for choosing a course, we really only care about direction. Know that the cursor will remain on one side of the sphere, even if you pan the view. The initial size is determined by where your mouse was relative to the ship when you first opened the widget. If you need to switch the side, hold left control and draw the radius back through the center until it's on the opposite side. Get some practice moving the cursor around now, as selecting a direction or position in 3D space can be very disorienting at first. When you're ready, issue the order to get the formation underway in the given direction.
Moving.
The formation will now drive the course until told to do otherwise. Careful not to lose attention and let them get too far. We've had an incident in the past, and I'm not going to fill out more paperwork. Lastly, let's break the Dusty Tome back off from the formation. To do so, all you need to do is select the ship and issue a standard movement order to it. That will override its order to keep in formation.
On the way, Commander.
Alright. Simple enough.
Well, congratulations! That completes your first lesson in maneuvering ships in the battle space. We'll cover more advanced topics like weapons employment and tactical view in the next lesson. I'll see you back at the academy.
That was simple enough. But it feels like you have a lot of kind of complexity that this will kind of lead to whenever you're in actual combat with other players. Alright, so let's see. Let's try the weapon employment tutorial. Understanding of the vital tactical view and how we properly engage targets with ship-mounted weapons are paramount to proper fighting force in the fleet. Sure. So we get same ships as in the last one. Radar, jammer, launchers and cannons. From the interface, weapon control is simple as point and click. Well, maybe not that simple, but it's easier than having to run a command down the line. Academy command has authorized you for basic weapons trial. So we'll be going over targeting, gunnery and basic missile usage. It will be fun.
Now comes my favorite part, weapons and how to use them.
The big boom.
Don't worry about that red contact over in the distance. It's a decommissioned frigate that's been tugged out here for target practice. Before we get to weapons, we need to learn about the tactical view. You can switch between tactical and normal views by pressing spacebar.
Ah, here we go. Yeah. Nice. Yeah,
The
I
view
did.
controls here are the same as before, but you can zoom out much further and get a better idea of the situation in the battle space.
Yeah, we already took a look at it. Zooming.
The tactical view provides you with a lot of information that you wouldn't be able to get otherwise. It's your primary way of knowing what's happening around you. You'll be using it a lot. The range plane shows you both elevation of targets and their distance from a given point. When no ships are selected, it sits at the center of the battle space. Select the small beginnings now to see how the plane changes.
We're ready whenever you are.
Take note that the range plane moved to center on that ship. It'll also track with it. All ranges will be indicated relative to your currently selected ship. Notice that the line from the enemy track to the range plane has a slight curve. This is because elevation and range are not directly related, so the contact's distance on the plane must be projected onto a sphere. This layout makes it easy to determine the range of a target by looking at the position of the plane relative to your selected ship's capabilities.
Right.
The dotted lines represent maximum ranges of your ship's systems. Red indicates offensive range, blue is sensor range, and defensive systems are green.
Yeah.
Stand
While there are common ship configurations found throughout the fleet, most ships have some unique capability. The ANS Small Beginnings is configured with 2 Mark 62 twin-barrel 120mm cannons and a 16-cell vertical missile launcher. I'm unlocking your weapon systems now, so let's put gunnery to the test with some tried-and-true naval fire. There are several ways to target weapons. The fastest and simplest is by shooting directly at the sensor track. To do this, right-click the red sensor track to bring up the action menu in track mode.
Alright, so here we have
The action menu will indicate it is
action
in track
menu.
mode by displaying the targets and track number in the space. It will automatically open the weapons list if there are any weapons on the ship. The active targeting mode is shown at the top of the list. Right now we are in track mode indicated by TRK. We'll talk about other modes later. Select the cannons from the weapon list and light up the target.
They won't know what hit them.
And you get to see the projectiles here as well.
Definitely seeing some hits there. Looking good. If the guns can't hit a target, the ship will automatically roll itself to get currently active weapon on angle on the target. This is called unmasking. Right now you'll notice that our fire is pretty inaccurate. This is because our targeting solution isn't using a fire control lock. The red dot jumping around near the track shows where our sensors think the target is.
Okay, so here you have the...
Standing by.
Let's improve our targeting accuracy by locking the target with our bullseye fire control radar, located on the top of the ship.
Preparing lock.
Alright.
To do this, right-click the track and select the LCK, or lock.
Yeah, we did that.
Notice the new icon on the target. This indicates that the target is locked on and is providing much better accuracy and increased update rate on the target.
Yeah, seeing like accurate fire almost every shot. now.
Remember, not all ships have fire control radar, and you'll only be able to get a lock with ships that have them equipped. Right now we are shooting armor-piercing, AP, shells at the target. Armor-piercing is effective on armor plating, but will only deal damage to internal components directly in the shell's path once it punctures the hull. While any damage is a good thing, we can deal even more damage by switching the shell type to high explosive, dealing damage to a wide area in the target's internal. We use high explosive, HE shells, against targets of appropriate size or smaller, or larger targets with heavy armor damage. HE shells cause much less damage to armor, but penetration will explode inside and do damage to all nearby components and personnel. To switch to HE shells, first open the action menu in track mode by right-clicking the track. In the weapons list, next to the cannons entry, click on the ammunition icon to open the ammunition list.
Yeah, okay.
Click the 120mm HE shell option to select it. The ammo switch is now pending and will only be executed if a new fire order is given. To begin firing the new ammo type, click the weapon group to confirm the ammunition change.
Bomb. I guess.
Copy.
Now we'll select the small beginnings and watch what it's up to.
Alright.
The mounts display shows the ship's cannons are firing and cycling.
Yep.
When the yellow bar is filled, the cannon will fire again. We can also see that the fire controls radar is solid green, indicating it's active and it has an active lock-on.
Exactly, so it doesn't have the dash anymore like the launcher here.
Here's the
Yes.
active orders list, showing an icon for each order the ship is currently executing.
Locking track,
Right now
fire
we
and
have an
cannons.
order to fire our guns and an order to lock the target. Have the small beginnings hold fire and break their lock on by right-clicking on the order icons to cancel them.
That's nice. Canceling like the orders directly from here, that's really... I see how that will make
And that's the basics of
things
gunnery.
easier.
The key thing is to know what ammunition to use, especially as your target takes more damage to warrant the big stuff. But what if you don't have a sensor track? Take a look at your ship's hulls, and you'll notice the 4 white octagons on the sides. These are radar panels, and provide coverage for their respective sector of space. There's also a central control module inside the ship, which track what these panels see.
Okay, so it's these, I guess. Yeah.
When panels are damaged or destroyed, you'll lose coverage in that area. Similarly, if the radar controller is destroyed, you'll lose all coverage in all directions. Obviously, fighting blind is not a good thing. But that won't put you out of the fight just yet. Direct fire weapons like cannons can fall back on visual targeting, where the crew will provide targeting data to your guns using onboard optics. Some weapons like missiles can't do this, however. I've ordered your crew to disable the radar. Take a moment and observe what happens. You don't want the first time you're operating without radar to be the real deal. With sensors disabled, you will now see visual contacts when you have one of your ships selected, and nothing when no ship is selected. Visual contacts are only useful to the ship that actually sees the target, unlike the sensor track, which was shared across all ships. If you don't see anything, you'll need to move within visual range, about 3,200 meters. I've created a marker in the general area for your reference. That won't happen in actual battle. You can fire on visual contacts the same way you did with the sensor tracks. Use visual targeting to fire at the target ship with the small beginnings guns again.
Right, so how do we do that here? Before we fire. This ain't going to target. Can we see the target now? Nope. Did not want to cancel that one, but I guess I did, so let's see again if we can get... Yeah, pieces. This was really tricky. Now it looks like we're almost by half. Can we get... So I don't really know what we're supposed to do here now. Because it feels like we should be able to see we were firing. Because it feels like we should be able to see. We were firing like a moment ago. So let's see if we can get our cannons again back online. Somewhere around here, I guess.
Got him in our sights.
That was also kind of way off.
Engaging.
That one looked a bit better. Yeah. And now we're firing. Awesome. We're hitting anything? Or do we need to try to fire on this new target, I guess, maybe? Ah, okay, so maybe this is kind of the way you want to do it. Bring it down like that. Yeah, perhaps that's better.
Copy. Engaging the enemy.
So engaging visual.
In a situation like this, you can imagine things are not going too well for you,
Ah,
but you'll
okay.
at least still be a threat.
Ah,
Your
okay,
notes
so we
will
were
just cut
supposed to
up if
maybe
your sensors
move
work.
around a bit to find the enemy location and then start firing and not use the indirect firing that I was trying to set up. That took a while for me to understand.
Now missiles. The ships in this fleet carry 2 variants of the SGM-2 series anti-ship cruise missiles, the Thunderhead and the Hurricane. The Hurricane is a command-guided missile, which means it is guided to the target by a launching ship. If it misses the target, it will come back around and try again until it runs out of fuel, is shot down, or finally hits the target. Command missiles are very difficult to avoid. The only way to defeat them without destroying the missile itself is by destroying the launching ship or jamming its sensors or communication. Shoot the archer, as we say. The downside is that the Hurricane must be shot at a sensor track. If you lose a track, the Hurricane will be useless. Let's launch 3 Hurricane missiles at the target. Start by opening the action menu in track mode on the target. Now select the SGM-225 Hurricane with the weapons list. This will queue up a single missile shot at the target and leave you with an active track selection widget. Multiple missiles can be fired with a single order using the left Alt key. Hold the left Alt key and click on the target to add 1 more missile per click. The number of queued missiles is shown next to your mouse cursor. To issue the order, you can either click the left mouse button with the left Alt key released, or you can press the Enter key. Once you've issued a launch order, you'll notice the Mount Status display will show the number of missiles that are being spun up for a launch. It takes time between when the target is selected and when the missile actually leaves the ship. This warm-up time is when the weapons control system brings the missile online, checks it for errors, establishes a reference frame for the IMU, uploads the target package, and more.
Okay, so here we go. 3 missiles. Boom. Oh, I like those graphics. Yeah, I think like I would really like this game once you get into combat, just from the kind of the... It's not like the most exciting visuals in the sense it kind of looks a bit boxy and cartoony for me, but just feels like the combat will be awesome. And I think like this kind of graphic will grow on me a bit, like the visual design they choose for the game. It's not bad in any way, it's just... It looks like a shoebox, but I guess why would you design something to look differently if you're doing like military ships in space?
Warmed up and programmed at the same time is referred to the ship's maximum salvo size, and it varies from ship to ship.
Yeah.
Missiles are one of your most limited and precious resources, second only to the ships themselves. They are extremely powerful, but extremely scarce. You'll need to know when to use them, as it can't be replenished under normal circumstances outside of a port. A frigate like the Rains will be crippled by only 2 or 3 missile hits, but in a real fight it will often take more than that to penetrate an enemy's point defense, which are a serious threat to Hurricanes as they tend to fly in a direct path. The ANS Dusty Tome is carrying a different missile loadout. Select the ship now so we can take a look at it. This frigate is carrying Thunderheads, an active radar-guided missile, which means it carries its own method for finding targets, allowing it to seek targets by itself. It can be targeted in the same way as the Hurricane missiles, but once it has left the tube, it's entirely autonomous. When it reaches the end of its path, it will activate its onboard seeker and begin searching for a target. The greatest benefit of active missiles is that they can be sent on complex waypoint paths, allowing for multi-angle strikes and even hitting targets behind asteroids. But we'll cover that when you get to your advanced missile trials.
Ah, okay, so you can set up some really interesting, I guess, sneak attacks, which can be kind of risky.
For now, let's just fire 3 Thunderhead missiles at the target, as we did before with the Hurricanes.
Missile away.
As easy as it is to use active radar missiles, there are some downsides to their operation.
Let's see here. You even get a little smoke from
the first is
launchers.
that the missile must find a target within the cone of its seeker in order to track and kill it. This makes evasive maneuvers such as course changes an easy way to defeat active missiles fired at long range, especially against fast-moving targets.
Yep.
The second shortcoming is that active seekers are easy to decoy with chaff and other countermeasures, meaning more missiles need to be used in order to score a hit, as active missile radars are particularly sensitive to jamming and decoys. But that should do it for your weapons trial. I'll have Fleet Logistics retrieve the dummy ship, and I recommend looking into all the weapons when you get your chance. I'll see you at the Academy.
Thank you. So, yeah, this was really interesting. I like the fact that you can load up with different kinds of missiles. And also kind of switching shells. adds some depth to the game. Damage control. Yep, let's give it a spin. I feel like I really need to go through these tutorials before I start some actual combat, or I will be completely lost. Damage control might seem to be a little below your pay grade, but trust me when I say that it's one of the most important trials you'll go through, especially when it comes to actual combat. I've asked Parker to get your teams together and they'll be on station to go through simulations and practice. I'll be with you in person again. Alright.
Alright, ready for something really nerve-wracking? For as long as you're out here in space, it's inevitable that you're going to take a few hits over the course of your career. In reality, the odds of us coming out unscathed of an engagement are exceedingly low. If you want to stay fit and combat effective, you're going to need to learn how to repair damage. Let's begin. To start, select the A&S Small Beginnings. I've had my boys set up some simulated scenarios for us to cover. Just stay cool. You'll start seeing some damage come up.
Alright, so let's see.
For the purpose of this training exercise, I've just simulated damage in 3 of the Small Beginnings subsystems. Mount 1, the main radar controller, and the Combat Information Center. In the ship list, you'll notice a number of new icons have appeared.
No. Here. Okay, so we have fire count, frontline radar, and CIC compartment fire. Command is disabled. Yep. Okay, so you have crew count as well.
Debuffs, which affects the performance of those damage components.
Yeah.
If there's a fire, it will be indicated here. Obviously, a fire in an enclosed space is a serious threat to ship survival. It'll slowly damage the ship over time, and it'll also slow down the working speed of damage control teams. This red number indicates the components have been damaged to the point where they are no longer functional. This also includes components which have been completely destroyed. The red chevrons indicate the ship's command system are not operational, meaning they are no longer
CIC is down.
Open the action menu to see what it looks like. The text at the center of the action menu will display "Not Receiving" when a ship can't receive orders. This is because the CIC, or Combat Information Center, has taken critical damage.
Yep.
You may have warships with backup command systems that allow maneuvering orders to be carried out while the CIC is disabled. This allows you to get your ship to safety and effect repairs. However, this ship isn't fitted with that.
I guess it won't make sense for like if you have bigger ships, but like on a frigate, it would take up unnecessary space.
Going back to the ship's status display, you can see the damaged components and their locations.
Yes.
By clicking on the status display, we can open the damage control board. Do so now.
Okay, so you get more detail here. So you have like CIC. Okay, so then you actually send out and you can set priorities. Can you set like so this one, no, I want this one is number 1. How can I set that? Okay, so now I have 1 going to CIC, 1 for the radar. Yeah, okay, so maybe I should just go through the tutorial, I guess.
The damage control board will show all of the components installed on the ship and their current status. You can use the filter buttons at the top to suppress things that you don't want to see.
Okay.
Your damage control officer will automatically prioritize repairs based on how important a component is. For example, your reactor and CIC are going to be priority 1, as they're critical to the operation of the ship.
Makes sense.
If you have your own priorities, you can click on one of the items on the board to prioritize it manually. Prioritized items are highlighted in blue.
Okay,
so changing priorities frequently can cause teams to move around a lot, which wastes valuable time that could be used for repairs.
If I didn't click anything, they would still go first repair the CIC, and then I guess cannons or radars, depending on what they have priority.
And we'll move from there when damage is taken. It'll take time for repairs to start, as the teams need to get themselves and their tools to the casualty. You can see the progress of the damage control teams by the gauge filling up on their token. Hazards like fires are their first priority before they'll begin repairing actual damage, as these can deal damage over time. The important thing to remember is that once a component has taken damage below 90%, it can never be fully repaired back to 100%. Maximum repair is 10% more than the lowest integrity level the component had at the time of repairs. We'll let your teams work before we continue.
I really
Let's
like
do
this
2 more
system,
drills.
kind of.
The first is a
So
component
far, at
restoration
least.
exercise.
Component restoration.
The CIC is now destroyed, with the integrity at 0%. Repair teams won't begin repairs to get it operational again, without you explicitly telling them to do so. You'll need to get it repaired. In the damage control board, find the CIC and use left shift plus left click to order your repair teams to start working on it. Once it's repaired, the ship will be able to receive orders again.
Alright.
This must be done manually, because restoring a component is a time and equipment intensive process. The equipment to do so is stored in the DC locker, and each locker only holds enough materials for 1 or 2 restorations.
Okay, so you have here, you have damage free, you have 1, because I used 1, so I only have 1 remaining restorations.
Although the CIC is disabled, and this ship can't receive orders to move or fire, you will always be able to prioritize damage control to attempt repairs. But this means that your repair teams are extremely vulnerable. They're moving into parts of the ship that are actively taking enemy fire, and could very well be killed. If all the personnel on a team are killed in action, you'll lose the team completely. If you run out of repair teams, you won't be able to repair at all. You can't replenish teams outside of a port, so keep that in mind. We'll wait for your teams to finish their work, then we'll continue.
Interesting. So you really have to be careful if, like, the enemy is targeting one component, I guess. I don't know if you can target specific components,
now
but...
that the CIC is restored, the Small Beginnings is ready to receive orders again. Lastly, we'll do something a little dangerous, a catastrophic scenario. Most component damage is localized, and will only affect the part of the ship where the damage was received. On the other hand, catastrophic scenarios are situations which, left unchecked, will eventually take the whole ship down. These situations include reactor overloads, magazine explosions, and fuel line fires, just to name a few.
So fuel line, you have that here. We have thrusters. Don't really have a fuel line.
Your repair teams will automatically move to prevent catastrophic damage.
Okay, so
There's not much
you have
can
a
do except
text
watch.
for it.
Just get a feel for what it will look like. Your damage control officer will always prioritize repairs for a situation like this. The ship's survival always comes first. Notice the flashing warning icon in the ship's list. Below the icon is an estimated countdown before the situation gets out of control. If you don't know what's wrong, you can hover over the warning icon to see a tooltip.
So you don't actually get it down here, you only get the countdown timer over here.
Out of all the catastrophic damage you might see, reactor overloads are the most deadly. Your teams know how to work with a damaged reactor, but fires and other hazards can make it a nearly impossible task to complete. Should the reactor go critical, you'll see a reactor bloom with a blast radius of about 1.5 kilometers. Standard doctrine states to move all of the friendly warships out of the danger radius of a ship with an impending reactor overload. Be careful around enemy wrecks as well. Your weapons could have damaged the reactor housings, and you'll get little to no warning before they go off. But Commander, that's it for your damage control trials. Just keep an eye on your teams and be smart about their movements, and you'll come out just fine. Remember, the ship's survival always comes first.
This seems like something that will be really, like, fun and stressful to kind of watch and play out if you're doing online battles or whatever. Yeah. Let's do... What are we up for now? Sensor and electronic warfare. Sure, we have advanced maneuvering, advanced missile tactics, target reference point, anti-ship missile defense. Yeah, let's do sensors and electronic warfare. It feels like that will be more... also very much relevant. Got the same ships as before. I won't waste your time. E-war is not simple, and neither is sensors. There are so many intricate little details when it comes to intelligence and radar, but thankfully you have me as your instructor. I love the confidence.
It's critical for you to understand your sensors and the things that affect them, as they act as your eyes in the battle space. After all, you can't shoot what you can't see.
We have 2 targets over here.
But now it's time to learn how they actually work. How to evade detection while spotting the enemy, and how to fool your opponent is absolutely paramount to a successful engagement. Let's begin. Select the ANS Small Beginnings.
Yes.
The first thing we'll talk about is your signature size and methods of signature control. Active sensors like radar detect enemy ships by bouncing radio waves off of them. The physical size of your ship, combined with the angle of surface and the cross-sectional area from the viewing angle, affect the size of the returned energy. In other words,
Yes.
the same ship will appear on sensors at a longer range if its broadside is facing the enemy versus being bow on. The smallest radar cross-section for the Rains frigate, for example, is from above and below the port and starboard stern. You can see the size of your signature by hovering over the signature summary on the ship information bar.
Standing by.
Size of your signature. Here can I... Oh, okay, so here you have the increased radar signature. Yep.
There are other contributing factors to the size of your signature, including what modules are active and how many ships are nearby.
Makes sense.
Right now there is another ship nearby, which is boosting the size of the radar return and making it so the enemy can see us at a longer range. Let's lower our footprint. Move the Small Beginnings more than 250 meters away from the Dusty Tome, so you won't contribute to each other's signatures. Don't move towards the enemy. We want to keep our current range.
Aye, aye, full burn.
Oh, nice, so it will actually try to kind of slide.
If you hover over the
Now we have a
signature summary with
nominal.
your mouse, you will see the nearby ships modifier is gone, reducing our overall footprint.
That's interesting.
It's good, but we'll need to do better if we want to hide ourselves from the enemy. On the ship list, the yellow icon indicates that the ship is spotted by the enemy sensors and is being tracked. Similarly, a red crosshair here would show that the ship is locked by the enemy's fire control radar. We have a good set of tools to reduce our radar footprint even further. Let's see what we can do to shake the enemy off. This switch will toggle our radar systems off, greatly reducing our footprint. This
Yep.
switch disables our communication suites, which can provide a modest reduction in our signature size.
Minimum. Yep.
Go ahead and turn off both of these now, and see how it affects our signature size.
We
You
did
may be
that.
surprised to see that even with your radars off, you are still seeing tracks. This is because the ANS Dusty Tome still has the radars and comms on, and is transmitting tracks to the Small Beginnings, sharing their own data. Hover over Signature Summary with your mouse to see how changing these emission settings altered your signature.
How can we help today, Commander?
Okay, so now we actually lost. We're still being tracked, but we can share. Alright.
If you didn't move too close to the enemy, you'll notice the yellow icon indicating the ship is being tracked has disappeared. If you're still being tracked, it might be because your hull is at an angle that maximizes radar reflections. Even then, a lower signature size reduces the distance at which the enemy can detect you, even if you are well inside their maximum sensor range.
On it.
Disabling emissions also has the added benefit of making you undetectable by passive sensors. Passive radar sensing is typically able to detect you 125% further away from your maximum radar range, so being invisible to it has an obvious benefit. The downside, of course, is that turning off your radars means you can't detect threats as easily.
Yep.
Similarly,
Makes sense.
disabling comms means that the ship is no longer transmitting any tracks it sees to friendly ships in the fleet. Ships with their comms off will still be able to receive tracks from other transmitting ships, so they can act as a silent shooter.
Ah, so that can be really interesting, I guess, to have like a stealth portion of your fleet while you have one part being active.
Go ahead and re-enable both the radar and the communications on the Small Beginnings.
Done.
Now it's time to experience what having your sensors jammed feels like.
Right.
Ready. Being jammed.
Confusing, right?
Protocols.
Mm-hmm. Alright.
The
Interesting.
enemy jammer is saturating our radar with radio waves, making it difficult for our systems to find legitimate contacts. This noise of contacts is what we are seeing, instead of the real radar picture. Notice that we lost track of the ship in front of us, but the one on the right is still clear as day. This is because jamming only affects the area around the direction that is being jammed. Keep this in mind when you're trying to use jamming to protect your own ships. We do have a tool available that can be used in a pinch, the burn-through sweep. Not all radar modules have this, but it allows for a short, high-powered sweep in all directions. To execute the burn-through sweep, open the action menu and select the BRN or burn-through command on the top. Then, as quickly as you can, attempt to lock the target. You can use the X key for the lock-on shortcut.
Locking on the target. Our sensors are going haywire.
Mm-hmm.
Burn-through sweep
Alright.
will show a unique icon for detected targets, making it easier to spot the target through the noise. The icon will linger for about 30 seconds to give you time to lock on. Locked targets are much less susceptible to being lost through jamming.
Interesting. Feels like it's a lot to learn.
That's it. Most of the time you'll be able to maintain a fire control lock in spite of jamming. But keep in mind that jamming power stacks.
Or like a
There's
lot of
fleet with
little
enough jammers active at the same
bits
time
that
will
you
break
can
any
use.
lock. Because burn-through sweeps use a much higher power output, they also have the added benefit of being able to spot smaller, weaker contacts at a greater range. This is useful for finding small scout ships or approaching missiles. The downside is that the higher power output runs the risk of causing damage to the amplifiers every time you use it, so be careful not to burn out your radars.
I guess that's, you don't actually get like to know, you just have
Your
a
other
chance
option
to
for
take
burning through
damage to them.
jamming is simply to get closer to the enemy, brute forcing your way in. Just try not to get sunk in the process. Jamming the enemy ourselves can be as easy as right-clicking their track and selecting our jammers with the EW weapons menu. However, these targets are far enough apart that they won't both be covered by the cone centered on only one of them. The ANS Dusty Tome is carrying a blanket radar jammer. We'll use that to jam both targets by catching them both in the jammer's cone of effect by targeting a position between both contacts. You can target a weapon on a position in space by opening the action menu by right-clicking in open space instead of on a track, and use the sphere widget to target a position between the two contacts. Remember to use the tactical view, as it will give you precise bearings for positional targeting. When in the tactical view, you'll see each track's position projected onto the sphere of the widget. To blind both of them, aim for a point between those two projected positions.
So I guess we'll go here and then we will go here. And we will go that angle, I guess.
Remember that you can change the radius of the widget by holding left control and drawing the radius in or out.
Okay, so this is excellent. This is really nice. We're getting both of them in the cone, it looks like.
And like that, they can't see us anymore, just like what happened to us.
And we lost
But
the
they can
tracking.
also use the same tactics like burn-throughs or approaching us to sift through the jamming. While jamming power is additive, it is not linear. The more jamming signals that are present in an area, the more they begin to create destructive interference and cancel each other out. Think of it like diminishing returns. Even if you don't successfully jam the enemy's tracking of your ships, an active jamming signal will still reduce their sensor accuracy. This is particularly devastating for point defenses, which are shooting at very small, very fast targets and therefore require great accuracy.
Yep.
Using standoff jamming in coordination with your missile salvos will make them devastating.
Having played a lot of digital combat simulator and flying and learning about radars for that, I can recognize a lot of terminology and how this works, I guess, making it a bit easier. Not that it's super technical, but at least having a feel for it.
Fire off the missile salvo at the enemy ship ahead, and see how their defenses react with your jammer active. Watch how erratically the enemy defenses are firing. Point defense requires pinpoint precision, which your jamming is preventing by flooding their sensors with far too many false contacts.
Firing a missile.
Okay, so you can also use that
And using
kind
jamming
of
to cover a missile
offensive.
attack, you'll still need to watch out for airburst point defenses like flak guns, as they don't require much accuracy. Most importantly, the blanket jammer has a 90-second firing time. This is to prevent the amplifiers from overheating and being damaged. However, there are times where you absolutely have to be able to use the system, or you'll lose the ship. In that case, you might not care whether the module destroys itself. This is what Battle Short is for. Select the ANS Dusty channel if it isn't already. This is the toggle for the Battle Short mode. When this is on, all equipment safeties are disabled, and the equipment will continue to run until it destroys itself. Reserve it for emergency use, or you'll hear an endless litany of profanity from the damage control officer. When Battle Short is enabled, active components with active duration timers will periodically be damaged. However, they will only begin taking damage when they exceed their normal firing time.
That's something also
One
to
last thing
kind of
note
keep in
is that
mind.
most electronic warfare modules are single-cycle systems. That means they won't repeatedly fire on the same target after their cooldown period. And you'll need to designate a new target every time the system comes off cooldown. Jamming is an extremely powerful tactic when used at the right time. Use it to cover your retreat, confuse enemy fire, cover your missiles, and anything else you can think of.
Yeah, because I guess one really interesting usage would be simply to kind of hide a wave of missiles to reduce their time to react.
With that out of the way, that should do it for sensors and EWAR. I hope I made it easy to follow because the guidebooks on these are nightmarish. I'll see you back at the academy.
Yeah, definitely see how this will be really fun too. And stressful. Ooh, let's take a peek at the fleet editor. Or what did we have left here in the tutorial? We have advanced maneuvering, advanced missile tactics. Yeah, I mean, I think we will maybe come back to those. Let's look at the fleet editor. Shelter Alliance. The Alliance is a loose federation of 13 different local governments, administering 26 major populated planets across 17 star systems, as well as numerous minor colonies, all located within its borders. It's a relatively young entity formed approximately 400 years ago as a mutual defense pact between the three funding systems in response to aggressions from the neighboring Venuma coalition, which eventually developed into a full government. While most galactic nations have mixes of different cultures within their borders, the Alliance is unique on the galactic stage in that it has no core dominant culture, with many planets being so different from each other that a casual observer might not believe they belong to the same nation. Member states are mostly autonomous, but alliance-wide policy is created and disseminated by a political body known as the Core Conference, or the Core, which is formed by legislators appointed by individual member governments according to population. Up-and-coming politicians regularly argue that the weak associations between the members with no strong central authority is a recipe for disaster down the line, but the last 4 centuries have seen little conflict from within. The ease of relocation between planets and changes of citizenship for those who are not content where they are, combined with the difficulty of rigid administration across interstellar space without strong force, has left this camp as one of the Alliance's most minor parties. All members contribute to the common defense of the Alliance's border by providing ships and crews for the combined fleets. For most of the Alliance history, member states have provided their own fleet ships of indigenous design and the crews to man them. Most Alliance crews were not integrated between planets, with most spacers, at least those not working at the fleet command level, spending their entire careers serving with only people from their homeworld or systems. The challenge of managing the repairs, shipyards, schedules, modernization plans, and parts inventories for the slew of different ships left many a depot commander burnt out after only a year and strained fleet logistics continuously. It was only in the last 150 years that the Alliance Navy Fleet Commander undertook a standardization initiative and commissioned the design of a set of warship hulls across all the core ship classes to reduce these logistical challenges. These new hulls have steadily replaced the older mixed designs as they reach the end of their useful lives. While it is still not uncommon to see unique designs about the fleet, they are becoming rarer. Yeah, I think I'll settle for reading only this one. Let's take a quick look here. Yeah, outline. Yeah, let's go with this one. Alright, so here we have the frigate, and you have all the different modules. You have the basic, so I guess, yeah, basic CIC, reactor, drive, radar are kind of the baseline components that you need. We have some ship stats here. Point cost 165. I have no idea what that means. Mass, armor thickness, component DR. Base crew complement 50, crew vulnerability 60, structural integrity, identification difficulty. You have the radar signature, integrity rating. So you have the manning, propulsion, speeds, linear thrust. Ah, this is interesting. You have a lot of these stats. I like that. So you have the power output. So you have fuel consumption, sensors, you have range, gain, aperture size, noise, positioner, can lock. No. Okay, so this is the kind of the, not the, can sweep, can burn through, no damage control, communication antenna, so you have, yeah, okay, interesting. So we have some different mounts here, and these are internal mounts, I guess. Were they? No, these are, yeah, so these are external mounts. So this is where we had missiles before, for example. So we have the different launchers here. So you have the size somewhere, missile size 1, missile size 3, canted launch. So I guess this is forward or backward facing. Forward direction of travel right out of the tube to help improve lethality of the larger, slower and less maneuverable hybrid and torpedo weapons. Alright, interesting. And you have some signature. So these are E-War, you have communications. And I guess those will kind of provide also you have dimensions here, and I guess you had like dimensions, yeah, 3, 4, 5. And if you look at the launchers here, this one is a 222, so it would be kind of wasted, I guess. So you have 3, 2, 3. So this one would fit. This one would also fit. Yeah, let's go for a missile launcher, I guess. Where did we put it? At the bottom. Yeah, so there we see that one. Kind of want to get cannon as well, I guess. Small cannon, dual barrel. Class 3, 315, 313, 313. Medium weight cannon intended to operate as a middle ground between lighter and heavier. I think we'll make like a kind of a missile boat. That feels fun. So we have one of these. Medium-sized missiles. I feel like you probably want to have like kind of similar missiles. Thunderhead, yeah. Yeah. Can you see how many missiles you can store in it? So you have magazine, 24 cells. Alright. Yeah, I guess we want to shift, control. Ah, so you get one to check if it's full or not. Cool. And then we have these two. Since we're doing missiles, but these Thunderhead, what kind were those? Active radar, so we probably want to have a radar. Let's get a radar up here. Sensors, electronic support radar. Host warship to detect radar signatures well beyond its maximum radar range in the form of E-link signals. Let's get the bullseye. Yeah. And then we kind of want to look at damage control center, I guess. So that's one is 313, so let's put it here. Damage control. We have some more compartments. We have the CIC, I guess that's big one. So large DC, teams capable of repairing ship components, restoring, destroy. Each locker allows a certain number of restoration for the site. So rapid, so you have. Yeah, I think we'll need like a small locker, probably. How many? Each locker contain. Where does it say? You have. Okay, so you have one restores provided, 2 teams. Cool, and that's 313. So here, I guess, small DC locker. What's a workshop? Workspace for engineers to fabricate temporary parts and shoring to increase damage control team work speed. Okay, so that feels like it would be more necessary on larger ships. So what's this? This is like a 222. So something like this. Missile parallel interface. By using parallel programming bus instead of a simpler and cheaper serial bus, the weapon control system is able to program targeting information into a given missile much faster. This significantly decreases the amount of time between issuing an order to fire a missile and when it actually leaves the ship. Yeah, that sounds interesting. Since this is gonna be a missile boat. And the missile programming bus. Targeting flight paths into missile is a complex process. Only one missile can be programmed at a time on most ships. This module upgrades the missile programming bus and add additional programming channels, enabling more missiles to be prepared for launch at the same time. So you get to have +1. So you can fire, I guess, 2 missiles at the same time. I guess you will want to kind of do salvos of missiles, but that kind of feels like it makes sense. Where within power have crew complement 60 of 50. What can you? Probably can't put too much stuff on this. So this is serves a compact missile platform, allows warships to have a wide variety of missile weapons to be used on moment nodes, but it's rated for smaller munitions like riposte interceptors. Because I wanted to see if we could find... Interceptor kind of sounds like it's supposed to be PDF. So you have the defender here. Yeah, this feels like something we want to have. PDS, definitely, or PDT, point defense turret. It's integrated with radar. Yeah. So you have rate of fire 2400 RPMs. The only problem is that it will be mounted on a side of the ship, I guess. Or where was the... This last slot is kind of on the side. Or it's actually here. Makes sense, it's on the opposite side of the radar. Do we know... Maybe you want to have like a PDT boat. Crew required. Let's install it. Okay, so crew complement is actually at 63 of 50. We have too many. Is it this one? DCC operates as a hub for damage control teams. Maybe we don't need this. Or need, but like we can't have this. Can I remove it somehow? How do I remove it? Or if I click install. How do I remove? Oh, okay, so here you have the remove. And then you click install. Yeah, makes perfect sense. Now we actually have 53 of 50. Command 20, 2 damage control teams, 20 in engineering. So I guess we need to choose if we want to have the PDT or not. So I guess we would remove that here. And maybe what you would make is like you have few missile boats and then you could have like a radar and PDT boats. Although these are radar active, radar guided, so you need to kind of have it, but I guess you could track on if you have a radar boat as well. So yeah. And then you can click to get new. So I guess you can name this. Yeah, let's name you Newt for now. Cool, and then we can do like copy, duplicate, and then I guess we duplicate it again and we just kind of remove this one. How much does launchers doesn't take any? Okay, so the launchers actually don't take any. It's just the radar and locker and other stuff. And radar doesn't take any basic CIC. Takes people, I guess. Yeah, 20 crew. Engineering 20. This one doesn't take any crew. I'm kind of like how you can try to. This one also doesn't take any crew. So I guess you have to like drop the DC locker or change the basic CIC for like a auxiliary steering. Or maybe not. I guess you need to have a CIC. Can you add some kind of crew compartment? Everything provides additional crew to the ship. Nice. That's what we wanted. How do we do? It's a 1-1-1. So you have to drop something, and I guess we want to drop the smallest one. So you get 27 more crew. Awesome. And then we can suddenly mount our PDT. Because now we have 53 out of 77. That also means that perhaps... What can you mount on this one? Actively cooled, track correlation, more plants, have still good power. Magazine sprinklers might be nice. Weapon support, mount gyros, don't really need that. Missile parallel interface, missile programming bus array. Okay, so this is maybe what we want to have. 333, and that fits here. That's awesome. Let's install that one, and we can remove this one, because we can fire a salvo of like 4 or 3 missiles with this one. There's still got one module left down here. Spyglass radar, strobe correlator. Ammunition, we don't really need that. So maybe we could have like a missile parallel interface. Actually fits rather nice here. Get some more speed on the missiles. 415. Battle dressing station. We have a DC locker, we have a CIC. Maybe we want to have a damage control center. Small workshop, increased damage control working. Analysis annex. Smaller offshoot of the intelligence center with a 250 super brain, blah 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 blah. Intelligence effort. Bulk magazine. Okay, so I guess we could have this and make sure that we have some. Let's try and see what we get here. So we can add. Okay, so that's for slugs only. Don't really need that. Plant control center. We don't really need to mess with the power output. Gunner plotting center. We don't really need, I guess, because we don't have any ballistic weapons except for the PDT. think this is kind of nice. No. No munition. Okay. Okay, so we need to have a magazine, I guess. Bulk magazine. Install. Yeah. And this one fires off like 2,500 rounds per minute, so I don't know. $100, $200. Actually, let's go for yes, this one, and you can do shift and control. 1,000 rounds, 1 minute bursts, 2 minute bursts. Let's just load it up. Because we have weapons, speedity. We have like probably don't need this much. Or maybe, but I don't know. 20,000 rounds, that would be yeah, maybe. I have no idea. And then we can just duplicate this. Yeah. Okay, so that's kind of interesting. So currently we have the Thunderhead. Yes. Okay, so here you can actually even change this. That's really interesting. So you have fixed active radar seeker. Steerable. Six points. And I guess you have to. Okay. This is really interesting. Fixed active radar seeker, and what can you install here? I guess you can have multiple seekers maybe. Cluster decoy launcher, cold gas bottle, hardened skin, radar absorption coating. Okay, this is kind of cool. Then you have cruise guidance, more advanced form of missile guidance that is capable of following a complex waypoint path to the target, enabling blind strikes around asteroids. The other one requires line of sight. And then you have the impact charge and fuel. Interesting. Test fleet. This one, let's see what we get. All right, so let's see here. Where were we? I had to take a phone call. We were in this kind of test thing. So we can,
Sender traffic.
I guess we can lock
Acquiring
them
firing
up.
solution. Getting a lock. Acquiring firing solution.
And then we can I don't know what we're supposed to see here, but I guess we can.
Missile out. At the ready, Commander. Firing a missile. At the ready, Commander. Firing a missile.
Ah, nice. So you get to follow it here, you get to see how it's trying to evade, and it did not evade. Next salvo coming in through the PDTs. And they ran out, reloading, I guess. Hitting one. Okay, so we hit like one at least. Can we see if it took any actual damage? Would be kind of interesting. Intel pending. Ah, okay, so you have some form of where Intel, you can't see the target. I mean, you can lock up the target, but you can't actually scan and see the target. That's really interesting. All right. So I think this kind of concludes my little start, or my first look at this game. With the tutorials, kind of getting a feel for the systems and the controls and everything. Having a look at the fleet manager, fleet editor, just kind of the basics. Trying out this frigate hull. And but I think like a next clip would be to try to actually run a skirmish. I think I will take some time to kind of click around a bit more maybe, and then record when I play a skirmish battle, either against, I guess I'll play first one against the computer to kind of get a feel for everything, not get like completely sensor overload in the middle of a multiplayer game. But I feel like I will kind of love playing multiplayer, love or hate playing multiplayer battles in this game, due to the amount of information you'll need to process at the same time, I guess. Or that's at least the feeling I get for it. So I'm really excited to learn more and keep trying out this game. So I will see you everyone in the next video. Thank you and goodbye.